Let's be honest, when we think about what makes a man stay, what makes him commit, what makes him fall deeply in love, we often reduce it to something superficial. Maybe it's how attractive she is. Maybe it's how great the chemistry is. Or maybe, let's not sugarcoat it, maybe it's about sex. That's the message so many women have been sold. Keep him interested in bed and you'll keep him. Period. But let me tell you something that might just flip your whole perspective. Sex doesn't keep a man. It can draw him in. It can distract him for a while. It can even make him feel connected in the moment, but it doesn't anchor him. It doesn't make him want to build a life with you. It doesn't give him that deep sense of emotional gravity that keeps him choosing you, even when everything else in his life is competing for his attention. Because here's the truth. Men aren't as emotionally shallow as we sometimes assume. In fact, most men are starving for something deeper, but they often don't know how to ask for it. Society teaches them that strength means staying silent, that masculinity means not needing anything, and that vulnerability is weakness. So many men are walking around with needs they've buried, convinced that if they expose them, they'll lose their sense of power. But underneath that armor, underneath the bravado and confidence, is a human being who wants to be seen. A man who doesn't just want to be touched physically, he wants to be touched emotionally. And when a woman can meet those needs, that's when a man feels a connection. He doesn't just want, he needs. And that's what I want to show you today. If you understand these 5 needs I'm about to share with you, and you know how to meet them without losing your standards, your self-worth, or your power, you'll become the kind of woman a man can't forget, the kind he doesn't just desire, but the kind he can't imagine life without. So if you're ready to move beyond surface attraction, if you're done confusing sexual chemistry with emotional intimacy, and if you want to tap into the part of a man that truly loves and commits, then listen closely, because these are the 5 needs men have that are stronger than sex. And when you meet them, you become unforgettable. When it comes to attraction, we often think about how a woman wants to feel desired. She wants to be looked at with hunger, craved with intensity, and pursued with real passion. And rightly so. Those are powerful, validating feelings. But what we sometimes overlook is that men want something just as emotionally potent. It may not look the same and they might not voice it openly, but one of the deepest needs a man has, stronger even than sex, is to feel admired. Not just liked, not just tolerated, but truly admired. He wants to feel like the woman beside him doesn't just want him for what he can give or for how he looks or for what he does in the bedroom, but because she genuinely sees something special in him and respects him at his core. You see, admiration is not about inflating a man's ego or stroking his pride blindly. It's about recognizing and valuing the parts of him that he doesn't show to just anyone. It's about noticing the effort he puts into being responsible, the moments when he shows up with integrity, the small ways he protects and supports the people he cares about. These things may seem small or even expected, but when a woman calls them out with sincere appreciation, when she says something like, "I love the way you handled that situation," it shows what kind of man you are. It lands in a way that goes deeper than any compliment about his looks or his body ever could. What makes admiration so powerful is that it answers one of the most unspoken insecurities men carry. Am I enough? So many men walk through life feeling like they have to prove themselves constantly to bosses, to friends, to the world, and they rarely get to drop the mask. But when a woman admires him for who he already is, without asking him to be more or do more, just to earn her respect, he feels like he can relax. And in that moment, he begins to associate you with emotional safety, with a kind of validation that's not based on performance, but on identity. It's no exaggeration to say that admiration builds the foundation of emotional intimacy for a man. He may be able to share his bed with someone who makes him feel desired, but he shares his soul with someone who makes him feel valued. He opens up. He lets his guard down. He starts investing not just in the connection, but in the future, because now it's not just chemistry, it's meaning. And meaning is what creates deep attachment. So if you want a man to fall deeply, not just physically, but emotionally, don't underestimate the power of admiration. Speak to the strength he doesn't even know you see. Reflect the parts of him that often go unnoticed, because when a man feels admired by a woman he respects, that's when he starts to love her. not just with desire, but with devotion. And that, more than anything, is what makes him stay. We don't talk about this enough, but men, despite everything we've been taught to believe, are emotional creatures. They feel deeply, they hurt quietly, and they carry burdens they've been taught never to speak of. Society has told men for generations that being strong means being silent, that being masculine means never breaking, and that vulnerability is something to hide, not something to share. And because of that conditioning, most men are emotionally guarded, even when they're in relationships. They may show up physically, they may even express affection, but letting someone all the way in, that's rare. That takes something most women don't even realize they're capable of offering: emotional safety. So what is emotional safety for a man? It's not about fixing his problems or becoming his therapist. It's about creating a space where he can show you all of him, not just the cool, calm, confident version, but the parts he usually hides, the fears, the failures, the doubts, the emotional mess. A man needs to know that if he lets the cracks in his armor show, he won't be judged, diminished, or made to feel weak. He needs to feel that when he takes off his emotional mask, you won't flinch. You won't use it against him. You'll hold it with love, with grace, with quiet strength. And here's the magic. When a man feels safe to express without being shamed, he connects in a way that sex alone never touches, because now he's not just seen, he's understood. He's not just being touched, he's being felt. Emotional safety says, you don't have to perform to be worthy of love here. You don't have to be perfect to be enough for me. That's when a man starts to bond, not just with your body, but with your energy. And when that happens, he doesn't just want you, he needs you emotionally, spiritually. Most women have no idea how powerful this kind of emotional space is. They think that if they show compassion, they'll look weak, or worse, be taken for granted. But it's actually the opposite. When you can be both soft and strong, when you can say, I'm here and I can handle all of you, you become unforgettable. You become home. Now, emotional safety doesn't mean tolerating bad behavior. It doesn't mean becoming his emotional dumping ground. It means being the woman who invites his truth, not at the expense of your own, but in a way that honors both. That kind of space makes a man feel alive. It makes him trust. And when a man trusts you with the parts he hides from the world, it's not just a moment, it's a bond. And no matter how attractive someone else might be, that bond is what keeps him coming back to you. So if you want a man to fall deeply, beyond the surface, beyond the act, beyond the temporary highs, make him feel safe enough to show you his lows. Because when he can fall apart in front of you and still feel loved, that's when he falls completely. Every man, no matter how confident or self-assured he appears, holds a secret question deep down inside: am I enough? It doesn't matter if he's successful, attractive, or admired by others. When it comes to love, what he truly craves isn't just to be wanted, it's to be chosen. And not chosen out of loneliness, not because he checked a few boxes, not because you needed someone, but because you could have picked anyone, and you picked him. You see, a man doesn't fall deeply for the woman who simply likes him. He falls for the woman who sees him, who values him, and who deliberately selects him, not because she's desperate for a relationship, but because she sees something exceptional in who he is. That's what makes a man feel significant. It's the difference between being a convenience and being the one she'd cross oceans for, not out of need, but out of desire. And here's what most women don't realize. The more independent, self-assured, and radiant you are, the more powerful this becomes. When a high-value woman who doesn't need a man chooses one anyway, it lands in his soul like a lightning bolt. It tells him, you are special. You are worthy of my time, my energy, and my affection. That kind of choosing isn't about settling. It's about seeing the core of who someone is and recognizing value where others might not have looked deeply enough. But this only works when it's authentic. You can't fake genuine appreciation for who someone is. And you can't offer this gift to just anyone. Because if you're giving your energy to every guy who shows you a little attention, it doesn't feel like a choice anymore. It feels like a pattern. But when you are selective, when you hold your standard high, and your presence even higher, your affection becomes something rare, and what's rare becomes sacred. A man wants to feel like he's earned his place beside you, Not through games, not through manipulation, but because he showed up in a way that resonates with your values. When he feels chosen by a woman who knows her worth, it lights something inside him. It makes him want to rise. It makes him want to deserve you every single day. And when you express that, when you say things like, I don't give my heart easily, but I feel something different with you, or I'm not here because I need a relationship, I'm here because you make me feel safe, seen, and excited, you don't just make him feel wanted, you make him feel significant. And that's one of the deepest cravings a man will ever have in love. So yes, sex might light the match, but feeling chosen by a woman who values herself, that's what ignites the fire that never goes out. If there's one thing that lights a fire inside a man beyond physical attraction, it's respect. And do you know what earns a man's respect more than anything else? A woman who is both a safe place and a standard. A woman who doesn't tear him down but also doesn't let him coast. A woman who challenges him but does it with compassion. That combination is rare. And when a man finds it, he doesn't just fall for it, he rises because of it. You see, we're often told that men don't want to be challenged, that they want easy, that they want agreeable. But the truth? A man doesn't fall for what's easy. He falls for what expands him. For the woman who holds up a mirror and reflects not just who he is, but who he could be. Not by nagging, not by criticizing, not by emasculating, but by believing in him in a way that makes him want to step into that potential. That's the kind of challenge a man craves. Not a power struggle, not a battle of control, but a woman who can say, I love the way you show up, but I know there's even more in you, and I'd be honored to walk with that man. That message doesn't shame him, it doesn't attack, it inspires. And it inspires because it comes from a place of love, not judgment. Most men are used to one of two extremes, either being constantly criticized or constantly indulged. One makes him feel small, the other makes him feel bored. But when a woman stands in that middle ground, when she speaks to his greatness and expects it with grace and care, it sparks something deeper than lust. It builds respect. And without respect, no amount of chemistry will ever sustain love. So what does this look like in real life? It looks like calling him out without cutting him down. It looks like holding your standards, not from arrogance, but from self-respect. It looks like saying, I care too much to let you stay comfortable with mediocrity. That's powerful. Because now your presence in his life isn't just about emotional comfort, it becomes a catalyst for his evolution. And here's what makes this even more magnetic. When you challenge a man from a place of love, not resentment or control, you don't just make him feel tested, you make him feel trusted. You show him that you believe in a version of him he may not have fully stepped into yet. That kind of belief is a gift. And when it comes from a woman he respects, it's irresistible. So yes, sexual chemistry may get his heart racing, but a woman who holds him to a higher standard, with softness in her voice and strength in her presence, that's the woman who keeps his soul engaged long after the passion has cooled. Because when he feels challenged with compassion, love becomes not just a feeling, it becomes a force, a reason to grow, a reason to stay. Sometimes, in the pursuit of meaningful relationships, we forget one of the most magnetic, addictive, soul-binding forces of all, joy. It's easy to get caught up in emotional depth, commitment, vulnerability, and communication, all of which matter. But there's something almost irresistible about a woman who knows how to bring lightness into a man's life, who knows how to laugh at life, tease with charm, and create a space where he can simply breathe. Because here's the truth that not enough people are talking about. Men fall in love with the woman who brings out the boy in them, not the immature boy, not the reckless one, but the part of them that remembers what it's like to be free, to be playful, to not always be performing, fixing, achieving, or protecting. A man spends so much of his life in his head, solving problems, shouldering burdens, managing expectations, that when he meets a woman who can pull him into the moment, into feeling again, into laughter and spontaneity, it's like a reset for his soul. And it's addictive. Think about it. Who do we miss the most when a relationship ends? It's not always the person who said the right things. It's the person we had the most fun with, the one who made us feel alive. And that's what joy does. It makes love memorable. When a man associates you with laughter, ease, and fun, not just intensity or emotional depth, you become his escape in the most beautiful way. You become the person who reminds him that life can be exciting, even in the mundane. That doesn't mean you have to perform, be a comedian, or always wear a smile. It just means you let your natural radiance shine. You flirt, you play, you tease him about the ridiculous way he orders his coffee. You challenge him to a spontaneous dance-off in the kitchen. You look him in the eye mid-conversation and whisper something cheeky just because you can. That kind of feminine energy doesn't try to control. It invites, it pulls him in, not with pressure, but with pleasure. And here's what's wild. Joy is contagious. When you lead with that lightness, when you infuse the connection with fun and ease, it lowers his guard. He stops overthinking, he starts feeling, and that's when real love begins. Because joy is the bridge between his head and his heart. Once he starts to feel joy with you, he wants more of you, not out of duty, but desire. So yes, men love sex. They crave emotional safety. They need admiration, respect, and to feel chosen. But don't underestimate this final ingredient. Because if you can be the woman who inspires growth and makes life feel like an adventure, you become more than just someone he wants. You become the one he never wants to lose. So here's what I want you to remember. A man may be drawn to your beauty. He may be captivated by the spark of chemistry. But what makes him fall deeply, what makes him stay, invest, and build is when his deeper needs are met. Needs that go beyond lust. Needs that live in the quiet corners of his heart. He needs to feel admired, because without admiration, he doesn't feel respected. He needs to feel emotionally safe so he can drop the mask and let you into the places no one else gets to see. He needs to feel chosen, not because you need a relationship, but because you want him. Deliberately, consciously, and fully. He needs challenge with compassion to help him grow, while knowing he's still accepted in his imperfections. And finally, he needs joy and playfulness, because that's what turns love into life, not just a connection, but a living, breathing experience that nourishes his soul. When you show up as the woman who understands these needs and honors your own at the same time, you don't just become attractive, you become unforgettable. You become the one he can't replace, not because you tried harder, but because you connected deeper. So here's your call to action. Don't just ask, does he want me? Ask, am I showing up as the kind of woman who invites deep, lasting love? Lead with self-respect, speak with warmth, stand with strength, and bring the kind of energy that makes a man not only desire you, but cherish you. Because when you meet a man's deeper needs without losing yourself in the process, you don't just make him fall, you make him rise. And fall deeply for the real you. Now go out there and be the kind of woman who doesn't just attract love, she creates it.